Joe, I might need to make you the host. My Zoom isn't letting me make people co-hosts.
Oh, you made me a co-host.
Oh, wait a minute. I made Brad the host by accident. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Reclaim.
Foolish.
I don't know. You could probably do it with your eyes closed.
I let in all the wrong people.
Okay, David. I'm going back to David. And Justine.
Looks like Justine's logged in twice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why, but
I'm having some headphone issues, so we're joining from multiple locations.
no worries. I think I saw Jeff Haney too. There he is.
Yep.
Okay. Alrighty. Let me share my screen and we can start.
Is Jeff Haney on, do you know, or not?
Yes, he
He
is.
is, okay.
Hold on. Okay. File. Okay.
All right. We don't see your screen yet, Chelsea.
Oh, weird. Okay. Here it is. Why it keeps stopping. Strange. Try it again. All
Okay.
right, David.
It now. Yep.
Okay. And we are recording, so we're all set to start.
Okay, thank you. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission Design Review Committee for Tuesday, September 23, 2025. It is 4:04 p.m. and present are Commissioners Walker, Orlando, Haney, and myself, Baraducci. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted on our agenda online at zoom.us/j/986 922-00856 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering meeting ID number 986-922-00856. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. So in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28, 2025 amendment, extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30, 2027, we're conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. And at this point, we ask if there are any media or elected officials present. If you would identify yourself by raising your hand in the Zoom platform and giving your name, title, and affiliation. Nobody coming through?
Nope, not seeing any.
Okay. All right. So tonight we have the first application is application 26.0102. And this is Franklin Park, the Shattuck tennis courts, and it is regarding, excuse me, expand the existing 2-court facility to 5 courts. In addition to the court expansion, the project includes improvements to surrounding infrastructure. Pathways will be realigned and repaved. In addition, picnic tables and seating areas will be introduced. Shaded structures are proposed to provide shelter over the picnic tables and 2 seating areas adjacent to the tennis courts. The plan also includes the installation of lighting to support evening tennis play. So the applicant can introduce yourself and get started.
So I'm Kyle Zick, the applicant. We also have Lauren Bryant from Boston Parks and Recreation Department here.
Great. So I'm going to stop my share so that you guys can share your screen.
Okay, I will share. Lauren, do you want to give an introduction?
So I'm Lauren Bryant, Senior Project Manager with Boston Parks and Recreation Department. We're working on the Franklin Park tennis expansion. This is a project that came out of the Franklin Park Action Plan. The Franklin Park Tennis group has been very active over the years, and they've really been pushing for this project. This is a really great opportunity to expand recreation in Franklin Park. And I will turn it back over to Kyle.
All right, thanks, Lauren. All right, so I'll walk you through what we're proposing. And this is a project that has not been hatched very recently. Over the past year, we've had 3 community meetings. It's been broadly advertised. We've staked out the locations of the tennis expansion for people to see. And our meetings have included the Franklin Park Tennis Association, Boston Public Schools, Franklin Park Coalition, and others. And our hope, with approval, that we would start construction late fall and then work next year. Our project area is in Franklin Park. This is the Shattuck Hospital. Morton Street is just beyond here. This is Circuit Drive, and the William Devine Golf Course is adjacent to here. The red dashed line is the bounds of our project. This is the existing condition where there's 2 tennis courts and a picnic area and pathways that traverse the site. Of course, the entire park was designed by Frederick Olmsted in the late 1800s. This lithograph represents the original design intent. I'll zoom into the area in this red dashed line. Generally, it's in this area of Ellicott Dale. So, Ellicott Dale has had tennis grounds proposed from day one. It was lawn tennis, but there were dozens of tennis courts in this area. Our project site is right here. And this is the Shattuck Hospital. I'll make it easier. I'll overlay the air photo on that lithograph. Here are our tennis courts, the picnic area. There's a softball field, and then the hospital is here. historic photographs showing the tennis grounds just on mown lawn, dozens of courts. And as Lauren mentioned, this project was envisioned as part of some of the large kind of amplification of magnet locations in the park, Ellicott Dale being one of them. And the tennis expansion was part of that idea that came out of that public involvement. They were showing 4 tennis courts. The reason we're doing 5 is because it allows Boston Public Schools to hold matches here. And there's a loss of tennis courts as part of the White Stadium project. But the action plan recommended retaining the larger lawn and then having a lower lawn, which is outside of our project area, but that's where the softball field is, and expanding the tennis courts. And number 4 here, adding a pavilion or shade structure to mitigate heat. Pathways would generally remain the same, although there were some alternative paths that are beyond our project scope, but within our project area, we're retaining or repaving as they are. Here's an existing conditions view back to the 2 tennis courts. This is the Shattuck Hospital and Circuit Drive. There is a park roadway here with parallel parking on both sides that comes here, and there's a closed gate so people turn around and go back out. And this is parking for general park use, but also for tennis. These are existing pathways that are kind of in this X configuration in here. And people are going either to Scarborough Hill or Scarborough Pond, going these directions, or paralleling Circuit Drive. And of course, the destination is the tennis as well. What exists today are a number of picnic tables. There's hot ash bins for people to dispose of their charcoal, trash receptacles, 2 paved tennis courts, and then trees and lawn. Along the parking area, there's a running granite block wall that keeps cars from driving into the park. The furniture that's out there now is tired. You know, it's been out there more than a generation. So you see concrete bases with wood that's worn, some metal and wood, some signage from the 1980s, the hot coal bins, bleachers, and signage that's representative of the Emerald Necklace. The tennis court itself, I think, was from the 1960s, late 60s. Asphalt tennis court with a red on green color scheme, chain link fence around it, plain aluminum bleachers, storage area. So then here's a 3-dimensional view of what exists: the 2 tennis courts, the pathways, driveway and parking, trees, and picnic area. And to note, we've represented the pavement accurately. There are some asphalt paths, and there is a concrete path that leads to Scarborough Pond. So here's the proposed plan. The pathways, the X here is the same. All the pathways are shown in blue. We're adding a path parallel to the parking so that people can get out of their car, go through an entrance, and then traverse along parallel to the parking. And it's also a desire line for people coming this direction to go towards Scarborough Pond and not be in the road. The 2 existing tennis courts are here. So we have 2 courts to replace them, shifted a little south, and then 3 additional courts here in the same kind of roughly north-south configuration, because that's ideal for tennis play. And then the picnic area will be replacing the picnic tables almost in kind in terms of the location, but we do shift them. And we're also making them accessible and adding shade to 2 different picnic areas. And then we have shaded seating for spectators or for park use on 2 sides of the tennis area. In addition to those things, we're doing tree planting. These small green circles of the darker green are proposed. These are existing of the lighter color. And then there's a little bit more substance in terms of the entrance to the tennis court, because it is such a social place. So we have some picnic tables there, a bulletin board for information. We have a blue bike dock, and we have a screen for temporary restrooms.
And Kyle, really
Yep.
quickly, sorry to jump in. If we could jump back to that last page, I just do want to clarify that when we talk about having 2 shaded picnic tables and 2 shaded seating areas at the tennis courts, that 1 of each, so 1 shaded seating at the tennis and 1 shaded picnic table, will be in the base bid for the project. And depending on the money, we will have as ad alternates the ability to have a second shaded picnic table and a second shaded seating at the tennis. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep. So then we also wanted to share some information on past use of the site, because when we initially applied, Joe Bagley pointed out that there's some potential archaeological sensitivity here. So this is an overlay of a late 1800s map. Before the park was built, there was a Ellicott house in this area, and there would have been some outbuildings. And so we have a consulting archaeologist, PAL, under contract, and they will be submitting their permit to MHC by the end of this week. So we hope to do the excavations, the shovel test pits that Joe Bagley recommended before construction starts. Well, we'll not hope to, but we will. And we'd be able to report on those findings before we do any construction. But because there is such interest in the tennis particularly, we would phase the construction of the tennis first and have the archaeologists do the excavation in the tennis area first, to keep our timeline moving.
And Kyle, can I also just say that in addition to the Ellicott House site that is of interest, also where the tennis courts are, because of the stream downhill from the tennis courts, there's also the interest in the tennis area for native archaeological finds.
Yeah. So then here's a three-dimensional view of what's proposed. Same as, what I just shared, but some details come out that maybe the plan doesn't show as well. We do have a fence around the perimeter of the tennis court and dividing the 3 and 2 courts. It's a chain link fence, black vinyl coated, and it's 10 feet high. Those 2 shaded shade structures that I mentioned, that one is in the base bid, one in the adult, are both shown here. And these are lighted tennis courts. And that is because we get so much more use throughout the year by having light here, and there are no neighbors that really the light would impact. Plus, modern tennis lighting, you can really control light pollution very well. So then we have a few perspective views from different parts of the park, so you understand some of the features and the overall design. So here's that plan that I showed earlier with the 5 tennis courts. The number and the arrows show you the viewing points. We're at the northern edge of our project, looking at the tennis area, and not the tennis area, the picnic area. So these are picnic tables. There's built-in grills, trash receptacles, one of the shaded picnic areas. Then we've shifted closer to the driveway and the parking, looking again at the picnic area. Some of the picnic tables are randomly placed in the lawn. Some are connected to the pavement, so they're accessible. This is an existing entrance, but that's a new sidewalk here, and the tennis is in the background. This is a new entrance off of the parking and driveway to allow people to be able to spill from the roadway into the park and along that new pathway. There is a ledge outcropping of Roxbury pudding stone here already, so we're kind of following that with this semicircular form, but then have some granite bollards to restrict access. And then as you get closer to this tennis court, it is a 10-foot high chain link fence, and that's something we coordinated with the Franklin Park Tennis Association, because they have a lot of beginners here and they have a strong teaching program. And they felt that the tall fence around the perimeter was very important, because with beginners, balls tend to go in all directions, not always purposefully. And then to zoom in and focus on the tennis complex even more, I've already mentioned kind of the 2 courts and the 3 courts, the shaded seating, the lighting, which basically is on the corners of the court and in the middle here, the blue bike dock, picnic tables, bulletin board, the screen for the temporary restrooms. And then what are the furnishings? The furnishings are similar in family to what exists, but all a little bit more consistent and all new. So picnic tables have a black steel base and a wooden top. The benches have similar materials, and we have accessible versions and companion spaces. The base bid for our spectator seating is a powder-coated black bleacher. We also have drinking fountain, grills, bike racks, and the blue bike dock. And then we have trash receptacles and disposal for hot coals. And I mentioned the tennis court light fixtures. Here's an example of those. I wanted to show a few views, particularly focused on the shade structures. This is one of the larger ones adjacent to the tennis area. There's two. One would be base bid, one is an add alternate. And we have tiered seating underneath. The base bid would be that black powder coated aluminum bleacher, but it has an angled top. We're trying to maximize the amount of shade we get on the seats themselves. And this would be a black metal frame and a contrasting color purlin on the top. And the picnic shade structures are similar in design, same kind of framework, same slope, just smaller in scale. And then similar for the screen for the temporary restroom, same structure, but we do have a perforated metal panel to help minimize the view of the restrooms. And then I wrap up going back to the view of the proposed project so we can talk about your comments or your questions.
Okay, thank you. I just have a quick, you might have already mentioned it, but I didn't catch it. The surface of the tennis courts, is that going to be a granule or a rubberized surface, or is it asphalt again?
No, it's a so it's paved, but it's a post-tension concrete, but it will have this green on green color surface. The reason we're doing post-tension concrete, it lasts much longer than asphalt now. So asphalt, you would expect you're going to see cracking within 5 to 10 years. But with a post-tension concrete, it's a 50-year court. And you just have to redo the top surface, on a regular basis.
Okay. And the green on green is what you're doing. You're not using the red anymore.
Right.
Okay. And how tall are the light fixtures?
We have two heights. There are 40-foot poles and 50-foot poles. 50 on the corners. No, I'm sorry. 50 around the 3 courts because it's a longer distance, and 40 around the 2 courts.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't have any more questions about it. I think it looks fine the way it's been presented. So do the other commissioners, Walker, Orlando, or Haney, have any comments?
Thanks, David. I'll jump in. Just 2 quick questions. Are the shade structures sort of purchased items, prefab, pre-engineered, or custom made?
It's a kind of a mix. It's a variation on a standard product that a pergola manufacturer makes, but we adjusted it a little bit for our dimensional needs.
Okay, so it is sort of a kit of parts.
Yes.
And the slats you said are a contrasting color. Are they wood or are they a different material?
They are not wood. They'd be powder coated steel. And the reason is the longevity of wood and Boston Park's ability to maintain wood or replace wood, particularly in an area where we have grills and hot coals. We're worried about vandalism and burning. So we want to have something that's more durable, but by having the contrasting color, it lightens them up a bit and lightens them up.
And is there any lighting in those, or do you think the ambient lighting from the court lights is sufficient?
I think the ambient lighting would be fine. They're not solid roofs, they're slats. So,
right.
And otherwise it's not intended for, well, the seating for spectator, yes. The lighting for the tennis court should provide enough lighting for those spectators to feel comfortable there. There would be no lighting under the shade structures for the picnic area.
Yeah. And my last question is just why are we calling the enclosed porta potties temporary? Is there a plan for a more permanent toilet solution?
It's just the temporary restrooms is the name for the porta potty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
not that the screen we're proposing is temporary.
And not that there's some other thing coming. That is the solution for
Yes.
facilities.
That's sorry if I could jump in really quickly. That is the current solution as part of this project. part of what we heard during the action plan is that some type of a permanent future restroom in this area would be something that people are interested in. So one of the other things that came out of the action plan is to do a restroom study for the park. And this will be one of the locations that we look at as part of that study, but it won't be as part of this project. But everything that we do for this project wouldn't preclude being able to do that in the future.
I don't think I have any further questions. I'm not particularly concerned, unless David is, with, you know, the species of trees or how you're going to keep them alive or something like that. But I think it looks good.
Any other commissioners?
Yeah, Jeff, could I chime in here quickly?
Sure.
Will any existing trees be altered or removed from the work?
Yes, and we've had tree hearings about that, and that was made known to the public. We actually posted them all. The ones, and there's different reasons. Some are dead and dying or hazardous, and actually one was in such a state that Boston Parks removed it already. And then we have some that are invasive, and then only like 3 that are in the footprint of the tennis court expansion, but they're very small. They're like under 6 inch.
Okay, all right, that's good. Has the tennis association talked about prevailing winds currently on the court now? And I'm thinking about hanging the vinyl translucent scrim on chain link to help mitigate wind and also visual from one court to the other.
Yeah, that's something we've talked about. But the windscreen, while it helps with visibility of the balls and can mitigate wind, there is some concern about it impacting visibility of people in the park. So I think we're a little apprehensive to have windscreens around the whole perimeter of the tennis complex.
Yeah.
Lauren, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, I would agree. There's a concern from the rangers and from BPD about visibility.
Okay, all right. Because, you know, I do play quite a bit, and I think the fence that separates the 2 from the 3 may benefit from that sort of screen from a visual standpoint. But I'm also concerned. I haven't found anybody who's really done a good job of I guess zip tying it to the chain link, because like it lasts for a season or 2, and then, you know, the sun degrades the vinyl and it starts falling apart.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's a magic solution for that.
But I think that's an interesting point about the divider between the courts, because I think that would be less of a concern for the rangers in that location.
Yeah, I think that would be a problem for me playing back to back like that or in tandem. Let's see. Will the courts be reserved like through the Play Local app?
They'll be reserved through the Boston Parks permitting
Okay, all right.
system,
The
which is how they are today.
okay. The bleachers now spectators will have to look through the chain link to the play action.
Yeah, and those, yes, they will, and the base bid has those one directional bleachers. The adult has tiered seating that faces both directions, so it could be for tennis or for park use as well.
Okay, all right. Will pickleball also be included on this?
No, that was very deliberate no from the community, that this should be just tennis.
Yeah, that's gonna be sort of noisy. Actually, I play quite a bit on the Boston Common public courts, and there were some guys there. I just overheard them talking about. They were just looking at. There's over 100 public courts in Central Park in New York. And we don't have that sort of saturation here in Boston, so I think this is good to see that this expansion is happening. So good. All right. I think that's it for me.
Justine, do you have any comments?
I don't have anything to add. I just wanted to make mention that this was a really great presentation, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple more questions. So the the lighting on the courts, I mean, is that going to be a nightly thing or And is there a time limit on the?
Yes, there is a time limit. I think, Lauren, is it 10 o'clock or 11 at night?
We talked about this being 11 for the community. We also, it's one of the things that's great about this is we can actually increase the usage by the community with having that later time frame. But what we do, David, now as our new standard for parks is to have a push button activator for the lights.
Oh,
So the courts actually will have a push button activator so that when people aren't using it, they're not on. And then when it gets close to the time of it turning off, there's a flashing light. So it doesn't just shut off when someone's out there in the dark. But that is our new standard for Boston Parks.
okay. And the other question I have is the existing pathways that are there. I assume that there's lighting along those pathways as well, or is that not the case?
There is not lighting along these paths. Yeah, there's only lighting on certain paths in Franklin Park because it is a dawn to dusk park generally. And the tennis was deliberate that it was going to be an exception to that.
Okay. So that's not going to be an issue as it gets darker, that will be kind of in a pretty dark spot, those picnic tables? Or is that not an issue?
No different than it is today. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last question is the smaller trees that you're showing in this rendering, are those what would be the new trees being put in?
Yes, the ones that it made a little hard, but the brighter green ones here are the new ones.
Yeah.
These are existing that are a little bit more olive.
Oh, I see the difference. Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. I don't have any other questions, and so we can open it up to public comment.
Yep, let me share my screen for the slide. Here you go.
Okay, great. So members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed design. Comments will be timed by staff for limited to 2 minutes each. To offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. Oh, okay, I see one hand here. Is it?
Okay, a couple of hands. So I'm going to ask Jay Lang to unmute yourself and speak and identify your name for the record.
Hi, I'm Janine Lang. I'm with Franklin Park Tennis Association, and I just want to say I'm really excited about this opportunity. I think that the designers have done a wonderful job, and we're really looking forward to having increased access and the new amenities there. It'll make a very big difference for our programs.
Great, thank you. Sarah Freeman, I clicked the button that allows you to unmute.
Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First comment, I'm very glad to see the paths continuing to exist up to the hill. On the fence, that's going to be 10 feet. Could someone remind me after my 2 minutes what the height of the current fence is? And on the courts themselves, that post-tension concrete, is that impervious? Let's see. I still have some questions. I trust the tennis people know how many courts they need, but going from 2 to 5 does seem pretty dramatic in terms of changing their impact on the total green space. I hope the tree replacement, I didn't catch the numbers other than 3 that were in the way. I know it's probably out there somewhere, but a sense of the tree replacement numbers would be helpful. And on the archaeology, will the public have a chance to find out what they find, if anything. And that's it from me. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I think many of those questions can be answered by the applicants now, and then if there are any that need to be deferred till later, that would be fine.
Yep.
That sounds
The
good.
existing chain link fence is 8 feet high, and it's consistent around the 2 courts. I was just searching for the number of proposed trees, and I think I was almost there. We're removing 25, and I think we're planting 30 or more. So there is a net gain. I'm glad Sarah noticed the connecting of the path that goes to Scarborough Hill and Scarborough Pond. Just for everyone who is listening, originally that was not something we were going to do. The Franklin Park Action Plan recommended stopping the path that was heading in that direction, but the community felt so strongly about it, we have made that connection.
And
There was a question about the post-tension concrete impervious.
No, post-tension concrete is impervious, but the courts will slope from east to west and go into a drains that then have an infiltration system on site. So we are not pushing water down a pipe off site. All of it will go into the ground. Boston Water and Sewer requires that we infiltrate more than the first inch anyway. So that's something that will happen.
And then there were 2 other questions. There was one about the number of courts and why 5. And so I did want to address that. So part of what came out of the action plan was to expand tennis here. So that has been something that even during the action plan was something that we knew was a community need. We did studies about 4 courts versus 5 courts, and we talked to the community about all of those. And the community was also very in favor of 5 courts. What it allows is for the Franklin Park Tennis Association to expand their programming like they have been wanting to do for years, because it's such a positive and such a well-used program. But it also allows Boston Public Schools to use the facilities as well. So one of the things that Boston Public Schools needs in order to host tournaments and matches is to have 5 courts. So we did take a look at that, and that's one of the reasons for that, the 5 courts. And then the other question was about archaeology, and will we let the public know? Absolutely. We'll send that out as part of for anybody that's been involved with tennis. We'll also post it on the project website, and I'm sure archaeology will probably add something in there too.
Archaeology is pretty good about sharing their
exactly. So absolutely we will. And then I think we covered everything. And Sarah, if we didn't, you can reach out and ask anytime too.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Lauren. The next name that we have up is Jun Lee, and I'm gonna hit the button that allows you to unmute yourself. After that, we'll have Andy Crane. Same to you, Andy.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Great, thank you for this opportunity to comment. My name is Jun Lee, and I'm a frequent user of the Shattuck. Not that tennis courts, but I frequently go through the area a lot, so it's really great to see that there is some kind of renovation happening. I just have 2 questions just about the gazebo structure. It's not a gazebo, but I was wondering if it's only for the tennis programming, because I know there are other programs that happen, and one of the concerns was during programming in that area, is there a shelter that people can go under during like a rainstorm or thunderstorm that kind of abruptly shows up? And so I'm wondering if that's only for tennis, or is that a place where people kind of can take shelter at? And obviously that comes with its caveats of other people taking shelter at after dusk. And then the second question is about trash cans and just trash. I know when I do go there, it's usually there's a lot of trash, and I'm wondering what that kind of looks like with where trash bins are kind of located. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Do you guys want to tackle those now or get back to people? Or
yeah, happy to. Kyle, do you want to talk about the shade structure?
Yeah, I'll start about the shade structure. Okay. So deliberately, the shade structures, we have 4 proposed, 2 in the base bid, 2 is at alternates. They're meant to be for park use. There's 2 of them that are definitely tennis oriented, but as I mentioned, the seating is 2 directional so that people can use it to just be part of the park. It was also deliberate that the shade structures have slatted roofs, not solid roofs. So getting shelter from the rain, something we thought of, but also people could, the concern also is it had solid roofs. We'd have people sleeping there at night or during the day. It wasn't just, and these are meant to be for shade, not for shelter from the elements.
Correct. And in terms of the trash cans, we have coordinated with Boston Parks Maintenance to talk to them about how many cans, like how quickly the cans get filled that are out there, how often they, empty them. And so we've coordinated with them and they gave us their opinions on how many of them we need to add in. And so we're adding in more than were there that are there currently, and more hot coal bins than are there currently. It's also the kind of thing that we're putting in permanent ones, but during the season, if there is a time when the trash cans are becoming, overflowing, the Parks Department often brings out temporary 55-gallon drums for trash, so they can bring those out seasonally and take them back if they need to. So we have that opportunity as well as the permanent ones that we're putting in.
Great, thank you. I'm just looking at the time. We have time for one more comment. So Andy, if you want to go ahead with your comment, and then we're going to move on to our next application.
Yeah, my name is Andy Crane. I'm the boys tennis coach at Latin Academy. And I just wanted to say these having 5 courts is transformational for high school tennis in Boston. We have a total of 4 teams now, hoping to expand, but there's only one 5-court site that the city has control of, and that is Carter Playground. So we've been relying on the generosity of sportsmen to have enough sites for matches, but this will now give us another 5-court site where current teams can play, and hopefully at some point we'll have more teams in the city. It's a really big deal for high school tennis in Boston.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank
And
you.
I'm going to advocate on behalf of all of the city of Boston that we do not have enough tennis courts. We have actual brawls with pickleball players in Southie. So give us more tennis courts, Lauren. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next application, which is the William Lloyd Garrison House. So Patricia and Rayford, I don't know who wants to speak first, but if you're not already unmuted, raise your hand and I will.
All right, let me just read it in first here.
Yep, go ahead. Sorry, David. Yep.
Next is application 26.0236, excuse me, the William Lloyd Garrison House at 17 Highland Park Street in Roxbury. And it's regarding a site restoration, including restoration of grade at porch, along with retaining walls and site stairs. And this is a continuation from the August 26th, 2025 hearing.
Okay, so
Yeah, so I'll speak first and then just turn it over to Rayford. Thanks very much, Chelsea. And we took all of your comments into consideration. And so Rayford will show, and Rayford actually worked with Kyle Zick on this new landscape design we have. So we hope you'll like it. And so Rayford, show us what you have.
Rayford, you can share your screen.
I will, and just make sure Kyle is audible as well, just to.
Yep, I am.
Yep.
Great. Okay.
Great. Thank you for coming back, and thank you for coming back so quickly. It's great.
Well, motivation, I think, would be the operative term there. So let's pull up.
Oh, like leave the meeting? Oh.
Let me use the back.
You want to leave?
Okay, we have audio and video for everyone?
Yeah, we do.
Great. Just briefly, this is a continuance from our last meeting, and we heard your remarks very clearly, and did want to get back as soon as possible to respond because the construction, as you see from some of the photographs, is underway, and we'd love to at least start the process for the site work in conjunction with the wrapping up of the construction in a few months. I think just to briefly review again the existing conditions that we have, and primarily the ones that we're responding to before we met with you, is that the grade that we see in the photographs from the 19th century has definitely dropped off, so that we see almost a 4-foot delta between the porch floor and the surrounding grade. And after 170 years or so of erosion and wear, we would like to actually restore that. So, and you can see it quite dramatically here at the picture of the front porch, and then looking up as well. Also to note that there have been retaining walls in place. We're not quite sure when they have occurred, but we don't consider them to be historical. And in at least the interim case here in the middle of the site, they're certainly not functional. This stone wall is falling apart. It's visible right now. The timber, wood, the railroad ties that are here, as you see, are actually rotting and do not do any work. The wall at the bottom, which is a cast product, it's not natural stone, is doing the work, and we do anticipate that in response to your remarks that we would maintain a wall at this base. Then a general sense of the landscape as it exists today. I bring back again the photographs from, in this case, 1876 or 1891 or 1892. And part of that, of course, is to confirm our intent, and that is that the porch was engaged directly with the grade at the top of the hill. And we want to, as part of the restoration of the exterior, restore the house as well as the man to the glory it deserves. We feel very strongly that we should restore that grade to the higher level to have that 15-inch difference between the porch floor and the surrounding grade. We do want, in the context of previous discussions, to note that with the photographs we have at hand, that it wasn't, the porch floor really was never visible from the sidewalk. And we say that because we can look at the 1891 photo here. You see the street lamp, which means we're clearly across the street and elevated probably 10 to 15 feet in the air. And similarly, in the high resolution photograph that we've relied on for the historical detail of the exterior restoration, we can barely make out the porch, but that light fixture that I just referenced is in the lower right-hand corner of the image. So it's our assertion that the photographer was up in the air 10 to 15 feet to take this photograph, which is quite majestic in its in presentation, but does confirm in our minds, as much as we would like to have it, that it we will suggest the floor of the porch from the sidewalk, but there's really no way in terms of the physics and the geometry to see the floor from the sidewalk. Across the street, it may be possible. So taking your remarks in hand, sorry, I need to move you. Here's the existing conditions as I showed you in the photograph, with the stone wall, the rotting timber, and the cast stone at the bottom. Initially, the approval that was granted last February was for the house restoration. There was no scope for the site except to remediate the condition of the porches and the lateral stairs that were clearly added, we presume, about 100 years ago. So with the raising of the grade, as we are intending, we replace those lateral stairs with a wraparound single tread like we see in the historic photographs, bringing the grade around, somewhat minimal, but at least engaged with the porch, to provide that sort of making a place out of the porch rather than a confined sort of guard. And then, as per the discussion the last time, to eliminate, if not simply reduce, the amount of retaining walls that were previously shown to maintain the grade as before. We are going to rebuild the bottom wall, as you see here. Kyle has been very helpful in terms of maintaining the 2-to-1 slope that would allow us to have the existing or the proposed prior retaining walls removed, but we do need to catch all of that at the bottom of the hill. We do have here, because we are tying together the improvements from the roof runoff into a discharge basin at the bottom, and we've realigned that to simplify the excavation that will need to occur and the archaeology that will correspond to that. And that would be at the base of that retaining wall. I'll show you the detail of that. Move you again. So. Sorry. A little more detail, just to show the 2-to-1 slope that we have here, 2 horizontal, 1 vertical. There will be an upgrade to the utilities. We have this unfortunate marriage of water and sewer that has been inherited, that we will separate somewhat in the hillside here. We will leave it as is once it goes out to the street. The gas, we can't speak for the gas company. They tend to operate on their own terms, but you can see the stormwater that's coming down from the house above. Fiber optic and electric will be running down underneath the stairs. The existing stairs are here, so there's really minimal impact, and we're balancing the cut and fill so that we have very little additional site work to do on that part of the site. Showing you the site section that is the clear, simple landform that Kyle has helped us with to show that 2-to-1 slope, the 3 to 4 feet from the edge of the porch to the break in the grade, and then about a 4.5 to 5 foot wall at the base. You see the stormwater basin here. And then we were, just for reference, we were showing the views from, as a pedestrian, from the sidewalk, and how close we do get to seeing the porch, and then what we presume to be the camera viewpoint from 1891 or 1892, or in that case, 1876. The intent here, of course, is to engage the porch with the landscape. It's completely devoid now, and we feel that that will enhance the life of the use for the college. This is going to remain as a residence hall usage with individual rooms in the house. This is the image for the restoration of the exterior that the commissioners approved back in February, with the restoration of the base wall, the interim wall, and an upper wall to recalibrate. And with in response to your direction, we have eliminated these interim walls. We will be rebuilding the bottom wall, and it will be cast in place with a rubble stone veneer. Kyle has proposed a couple of different varieties of ground cover. Here we're just showing the English ivy. We think that's the simplest and the richest and hardiest that we can use here. And to keep all of the planting quite simple and keep the landform simple as well. An aerial that shows the relationship of the porch to the lawn, the immediate lawn in the vicinity. As well, you see the single wraparound tread that is part of the restoration of the grade to the porch. And just to confirm the views, the historic views from the sidewalk, we set up this that shows the wall in the foreground that's being rebuilt, the stair wall that's a function of rebuilding the stairs, because with the increased height of the grade, we re-parsed out the runs of the treads to evenly head up the hill. The model that we were using to make sure that the geometry for both the landform and the stair is working out, as well as the detail for how the stormwater chamber and the excavation for that would be tied into the construction of the one retaining wall at the base of the hill. We're looking for the locally sourced, we're going to say granite, whether it comes from Vermont or New Hampshire, or Massachusetts. At the moment, the available one seems to be the Ticonderoga. Putting stone is not available. We need probably 20 cubic yards of stone, and unless someone is offering their foundation wall, their house, we just don't see that being commercially available. So we were looking for a random ashlar that will have a dark mortar that would blend in. The intent would be to have the wall tend to disappear into the landscape. And that, I think, would summarize the intent with our coming back to you. Kyle, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you covered it. Thank you.
Thanks, Rayford.
Thank you. So with the 2-to-1 slope, you don't need to do any subsurface reinforcement at all to the soil?
No, 2-to-1 is very reliable in terms of being able to, with a aggressive ground cover like we're proposing, we can maintain that very easily.
Well, I think it's a huge improvement. This is it looks terrific, I think, eliminating those walls. But I thought you said the wall at the very base. I thought you said that was an existing segmental retaining wall that's there.
There is.
It is.
There is an existing one there, but we, because of how we're regrading, we feel the need to rebuild it.
Okay.
Just the accumulation of the forces, and also it's not a wall that we would all be say that we're fond of, and it is doing the work, and we have to do the excavation anyway for the stormwater. It just seemed to make a lot of sense for the benefit of the durability of the project over time to rebuild that wall in the same manner that we will be building the stairs.
Right. No, I think it's a much. I'm glad to see the segmental retaining wall gone, and then this will be a stone veneer on it. I'm assuming from the detail I think I saw. So it'll be much nicer looking. And so the area, what is the depth of the flat area of lawn that you've got from the end of the stair that goes down from the porch before the slope starts? Is that like at least 4 feet or what?
It's approaching 4 feet. I think I could zoom in here. We've got 4'6" from the porch to the crease. Again, being quite rigorous with the 2-to-1, and we're slightly less than 2-to-1 when we look at the dimensions. We could tweak that. So it just felt like at least one could sit on this tread with the 3'3" and a fraction here at the top. We don't need a guard or anything because there's no drop off. We just simply go from horizontal to 2-to-1. So I won't say we backed into it literally, but we certainly wanted to have enough room that one could stand there on the turf as well as talk with folks who are sitting either on the porch or on the tread.
Right. Yeah. And then the top of wall for the new wall, is that changing? It's an elevation, or is it staying the same as the existing?
It'll be a little bit taller than the existing. The existing actually tapers down as it turns the corner towards the south, and we're starting with 5 feet here. So it's a little bit above eye level, and I think actually that will work to our advantage in terms of the 2-to-1 slope, and also being the rebuilding of that wall.
Okay. It looks great. And did I see I thought I saw somewhere when I was scanning the presentation, are you planning to put some 3 trees in the front?
Well, I appreciate the question, Dave. When we look at the historic photos, right, we did notice the pause in the landscape, right? And Kyle will attest because he's been quite good as a vigilant caretaker of the landform, that we just want to keep it simple, right? As much as there is I'll just say a scale device that was, I'll assume, deliberately employed. It just gets really tricky in terms of how one might introduce the planting for that type of feature. And at the end of the day, in a non-residential use, in an institutional use that we feel will have, I'll just say, less attention paid to the maintenance of the landscape than a resident might, We felt like just to keep it simple and keep the ground cover going and continuous. But we looked at that and we tried, and that's in fact what was submitted and what you were looking at. But I think Kyle quite correctly said, you know, it's going to be a tough one, and picking the right things, because you can see there's a casualness here that we couldn't actually entertain with the formality of that land form.
Right. Yeah. And no, I mean, I think it's going to be better without it. And it would be tough to create a little bit of a shelf for the water to settle on the tree, you know, the tree roots rather than just wash off. So I think it's going to, and then it won't block the house at all, I think, as the trees got larger. So I think it's nice to keep it clean and open. So okay.
I think it might actually, just to speculate, that's probably why the interim retaining wall was there, was that differential erosion that you're referring to. And in fact, this could be a problem later on, and that's what we were seeing with the intermittent retaining wall.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay, that's all my comments. And Brad, Justine, or Jeff, if you've got anything else to add.
I'll jump in to say I have nothing to add. I appreciate the added work. I appreciate just the recent conversation about the 3 trees. I'm glad they're not part of it.
Okay. Justine or Jeff?
I'm good here.
Okay.
I'm actually lamenting the loss of some maybe small specimen trees on the slope, and maybe even the delight of the urns that were there. That's just I'm just trying to create a little bit more of a frontal or a middle ground between the street and the actual porch.
Mm-hmm.
Those old features, like my eyes sort of went to those things as sort of a scale device looking up the hill.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so noted. All right. So we can open it up to the public.
Yep. I'll share my screen.
Unshare there.
Okay, so members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed design. Comments will be timed by staff for 2 minutes each. To offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov. No one coming through, it looks like. Okay, well, we can close the public comment period. And so it looks like, based on the commissioner's comments, that we will recommend to the full commission to approve this as it was presented with no provisos needed. So
David, I would just, this is Joe, I would just
Yeah.
add for this one and for the tennis courts, the provisos that archaeology signs off should be added to both of them.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Thank you, Joe. We'll
Sure. Yep.
that be a proviso for each of these applications. Okay. Thank you. Thank you actually for listening to our comments. I think this is going to be a much nicer design. So good job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
All right, so the next is application 26.0153, and this is Commonwealth Avenue signage application. And it's regarding commemorative signage on the Arlington Street fence at the mall.
Great. Thank you. I know you have some slides. Do you want me to share them myself, or how?
Yeah, you should share them yourself.
Great.
Just so you're in control of your presentation. So that's stop and share. Nice to see you in your new office.
I know. I was just going to say that. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see everyone. Are you all seeing my screen?
We are.
Great. Yeah, so I'm Liza Meyer. I am here proposing a project for a bronze plaque along the Commonwealth Avenue Mall. I'm the president of the Friends of the Public Garden, which is a different role than I've been in when I've come before the commission in the past. So just for clarity, I'm no longer with the Parks Department. This is something that's being brought to the commission by the Friends of the Public Garden. So this, I'll just show, I'm sure everyone's familiar with the lighting of the Commonwealth Avenue Mall, but in case you haven't seen it in a while, this is the display that we're proposing this plaque of recognition around. So it's a plaque that would be at the entrance of the Arlington block of Commonwealth Avenue Mall, recognizing the role and sustaining support by Joan and Ted Cutler to bring this seasonal lighting to the mall for 25 years. So this began in 2000. This will be the 25th year, as I understand it. Mayor Menino and then Parks Commissioner Justine Liff approached the Cutlers and asked them to fund the lighting of the first block of Com Ave Mall back at this point in time. And they agreed to, and as their support grew, the support for this program grew, more blocks were able to be added. And over time, this has really become a tradition throughout the city of Boston to come and walk the mall and see the holiday lights. So now the Friends of the Public Garden have actually taken over the annual fundraising efforts for this seasonal display, and we want to recognize the important contributions of the Cutler family who established the tradition. So we're proposing a 12 by 14.5-inch cast bronze plaque that will be affixed to the exterior fence at the entrance of the Commonwealth Avenue Mall at Arlington Street. So the first block, which is where the lighting began. It'll be affixed with a metal plate behind the plaque, sandwiching the fence pickets, which is consistent with other signage along the mall. This is the message that is proposed. Really simple, just recognizing the family and the project and the duration of their commitment on this 25th anniversary, so to speak. And I have a couple of photos that show where it will be. So this again is the Arlington block looking up the mall. So there is already signage at that, and well, there's signage at every entrance. So this is the signage you see in the location where the plaque is proposed. It will be designed, the proportions are determined so that it sits between the decorative elements on the fence pickets. So that's where the height of 12 inches is established from, so it leaves some space. And then the 14-inch width allows it to sit between pickets. I actually think it would be shifted over slightly from where our staff person is holding it for this photo. Show another one. This is it zoomed in. So I think it would shift a little bit to the left so that we would be it would go around 2 of the pickets, not 3, because this would make it hard to affix. But it shows you the scale at this zoom. And here it is one more time. Again, I think it would shift slightly left. And the Friends are planning to be responsible for plaque installation, plaque maintenance, replacement if needed. This is similar to a plaque that's just a little bit further up the mall near the Vendome Memorial at Dartmouth Street. That's it's actually 14 by 14, but it too is recognizing in that case the Vendome, not the memorial itself, but people who helped bring the Vendome Memorial into reality. So the scale of this is sort of based on that, but sized to fit better. That plaque doesn't quite fit in quite right, so we think this is a better proportion. And this has been coordinated with the Parks Commissioners, both the previous interim commissioner, Chief Sweat, and the current interim commissioner, Kathy Baker Eclipse, just to confirm their support for this project. And that is the end of my slides. Thank you.
Thanks, Liza.
Okay, so this is just going to be at the Arlington Street opening. That's right? Because that'll be
That's
at
right.
the beginning of the mall in terms of the beginning of the lights, I should say. So, well, I think Chelsea, you had, could you read in the staff comments that you had? I know there was a.
Yeah, so it's it's very clear in the study report for the Commonwealth Ave Mall that no signage is allowed. Obviously there is a park sign here, Commonwealth Avenue Mall. It gives rules and regs. Those rules don't include the bike rule, so somehow a bike sign got put up. So it's starting to look like a, you know, visual litter on this fence, which is part of the landmark itself, the decorative fence. So our compromise here was to think of a different way of doing this plaque, not on the fence, perhaps as a post-mounted thing at the beginning of, in front of one of the trees that does get illuminated. Maybe a ground-mounted plaque in the surface. I mean, these they're only ideas for commissioners to discuss, but when you look in the mall, there is very little signage. There are sometimes little plaques that go with the artwork that is there, the statues and lighting and things like that. So we're asking the commission to sort of come up with some alternatives. At the same time, I think that we should be looking at the existing signs that are right here in terms of, you know, that no biking sign. I don't know where that came from, but maybe that could be included in the main park sign. So, and you can also decide to go against the study report in terms of like what you decide for this one item, but there was the intention that there wouldn't be a lot of signs when this landmark was created.
Okay, thanks. Lisa, can I ask you, was there any thought to maybe doing something where it's embedded into the pavement or, you know, right at the threshold of the walk? Or even maybe off to the lawn area or so, next, like I think was mentioned, next to the first tree that does get lighting. And the only reason I say that is because I think where this is going to go, I don't think there's going to be that many people that are going to see it. You know, I think most people will make their way on the path crossing the street, and this being off to the side, I don't know that people are going to necessarily notice it unless they walk over to read it. And thought that maybe if it was something on the path, it would be more noticeable. But
We had a conversation. So Ted and Joan Cutler are deceased, so we're not working with them, but they do have family. You know, their children are in the area, and we have been coordinating with them on this project. Obviously, we wouldn't sort of proceed without them on something like this. And we did discuss the possibility of a tree plaque, a tree donation plaque. Their sponsorship plaque, I guess, is, you know, we have tree and bench plaques throughout ComAv Mall. And that idea didn't resonate with them. And so we wanted, I think they wanted to get something up off the ground, which is how we moved to this idea, because it's consistent with the way signage is approached elsewhere along Commonwealth Avenue Mall. We're not introducing a new element inside the mall. We're not adding something within the park experience. This is really, the signage is on the perimeter of the space. And there, as I noted, there is already signage similar, you know, a commemorative plaque just in one location, but of a similar scale on another block. So we felt like this was an approach that seemed worthy to come forward with, rather than introducing something new that doesn't exist.
okay, and it will be bronze, you're saying, the plaque itself, yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to hear what other commissioners' thoughts are on this, if they feel strongly about, you know, not putting it on the fence. So
I'll jump in. First, I want to echo Chelsea's comments that no bikes rule should be in with the other rules about no dogs and no motor vehicles, and should not be an added sign. Just the standards and criteria are very much written to prevent that kind of clutter. So I hope you can fix that. And I guess in keeping with that, I'm not eager to start down a path of adding more signs to the fences, or really adding more signs to the mall. I think much as you're already saying, well, there's sort of one sign potentially thanking donors to the Vendome Memorial. So what's one more? I'm very worried about sponsorship opportunities being prevalent on the Commonwealth Avenue Mall. And I think the study report is pretty clear. I really am not in favor of added signage of this kind. I don't think that's means that any of us are not grateful for people who are helping the park. Lots of people do help the park. I would be willing to look at something modest, and I think, as Chelsea perhaps noted, kind of adjacent to the first tree. If I'm not mistaken, the trees are kind of lit around the trunks, aren't they? So I feel like something maybe in keeping with that, maybe that's seasonal, that goes up when the lighting goes up and comes down when the lighting is off, might be appropriate. But I'm not in favor of just overriding the standards and criteria and starting to add sponsorship signage to the park.
Okay, Justine or Jeff, you have thoughts on this?
I think I have one comment. In the Boston Public Garden currently, or in the last maybe 10 years, there have been stone and bronze memorial plaques embedded in the ground along the path, especially I think on Boylston, and I wonder if that would be a more appropriate with less verbiage. But there's already like a precedent set up for that sign typology. And I wonder if that'd be more effective and link the Commonwealth Avenue Mall with the Boston Public Garden in that way.
Okay, and so there are signs in the pavement, flush with the pavement, you said now at the.
I think they've as new trees have been planted.
Yeah.
There has been like maybe maybe like a 15 or a 20 square inch stone plaque embedded in the soil and at an angle, and a bronze attached to the stone.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeff.
Justine, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm sorry, my audio cut out for a few minutes there, so I hope I'm not repeating folks, but I think if the study report is pretty clear, I think we should keep the sign off of the fence. And even if there are some other signs that have gotten on there in the past, I think we should be able to police that better going forward, to avoid a continuous issue. With that, I think that the signage is more effective inside of the mall, as people are experiencing the lit trees as they walk down anyway. So if there was a way to move the signage inside, somewhere along the walking path would be ideal. And just a question, Lisa, does your group also manage or control the two signs that we're seeing in this photo here on the screen, or is that a different group?
Well, the whole park is a City of Austin Parks Department park. And that signage is, I think it's all installed and maintained by the Parks Department, but I think we could have an opportunity to try to work with them to clean up the signage at the entrance. and, minimize the duplicative nature of those rules signs.
That was just more of
If-
a question. I know it's not really related to your application, but more just wondering where,
Yeah, we
Right.
can.
maybe
can
where the
definitely
next step
work
is to
with
go to
It's,
clean that up.
Mhm.
it's not unrelated in that what I'm hearing is a concern around signage. And I think part of what you're seeing out here in this photo is, contributing to that concern around signage. And if there was a way that by simplifying some of the those two signs into one, whether we could then, still do this relatively modest recognition. And just to be clear, I am the last person on earth who is on board with sponsorship and like proliferation of signage through parks. I've been doing this work for coming up on 20 years throughout the park system. And have been, a really strong voice for making sure that when we do, there are times when recognition is important. And it's because, people step in where the city can't contribute towards everything that the public is looking for. And so, that's why I do the work I'm doing currently, but it's also, there are projects that I've worked on in other parts of the city. One in Nubian Square at Gordian Park, where a group of community members spent a long time to bring about a significant improvement to that park. And so there's a recognition of their contributions that's in bronze. Similarly, at Child Hassan Park, we have something like that. I say we, I mean the Parks Department, I still say we, meaning parks. So I think that this is very much something that is rare. There's nobody else who is ever going to be recognized for 25 years of holiday lights along the Commonwealth Avenue Mall, which has become something that now is really synonymous with the part of the winter experience in Boston. And the programs that are out there, there are some tree and bench donation programs, yes, but those are contributing to in a very different way. They're sponsoring a tree, they're going towards supporting tree care, they're sponsoring a bench, they're going towards supporting benches in the parks. So this is unique, and I understand fully the concerns, and I would be comfortable, I would love to commit to reducing the proliferation of signage elsewhere and along this entrance hand in hand with this project so that we could actually make an improvement and be able to recognize what is a pretty significant moment at 25 years.
Liza, if we can have the black and white sign adjusted to do as Brad asked, like combine all the rules in one place, could we also do this commemoration on that sign at the bottom? I don't see where it would be much different. Like, I really do love Brad's idea of having something that goes up in the winter and comes down when the lights are turned off for the spring. I also like the idea of Jeff's stone sign that sort of is in the ground, but canted up a little bit in front of maybe the first lit tree. I think we should consider all these things and look at this again.
Yeah, if I could just weigh in. I mean, I love these lights. I mean, I think these have become a spectacular thing, like you said, a major feature in the holiday season for tourists and everyone to come and look at. So I like acknowledging them in some way as far as and the donors, I think, was a very generous thing. Now, a couple questions. Are there any other acknowledgements that you are aware of along the way that acknowledge individuals for, like, I know you said something about benches. Are there any memorial names on a bench or so right now, and
There are,
there
yes.
are. So it's not like it's not a precedent, or there's already a precedent.
They're not really separate though, David.
Yeah.
They're not on the entrance to the park.
No,
They're
I know, I
a
know.
small thing on a bench.
I know. So what I'm going to get at here is that I wish we saw the other side of this pathway. Are there signage on the other side as well? Or is it just, because this is I think the cluster of now 3 signs is getting to be a bit much. What I think I would love to see, and I think would be very innocuous in terms of its impact on the visual, and maybe even not violate the signage per se in the guidelines. But if there was something flush on the pavement, right, say next to the first tree that is lit, off to the side of on the side of the path, maybe not so much in the center, but I mean, I say that in the path versus say in the lawn. I mean, I guess you could do it in the lawn as well if it's flush, so that there wouldn't be any issue with mowing, but I don't see that that would be a problem. A nice bronze sign that would be embedded into the pavement just off to the left or right, whatever side you want to put it on, in front of the tree, but after the threshold, so that it's in the park itself and not so much a visual, a vertical visual here. And wondered if that's something that you said that the family didn't want that. I don't know what their reasons were, but
Well, I think we have a lot to, we've given Liza a lot to consider.
Yeah.
And we should probably decide on what the motion would be, because we've heard from every commissioner that is saying, no, I don't want this on the fence. So maybe we could consider what the motion would be to hear it again.
Just a continuance and come back with some alternatives.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, is that something, I mean, from the standpoint of the friends and the idea of maintenance issues and that sort of thing, is a flush sign in the pavement an issue with plowing? Or, I mean, if it's done well, I don't suppose it would be, but
there's lots of good examples of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. So maybe I think the idea would be if we can have a continuance, and if you can come up with some other thoughts about how that could work, and be innocuous and not have it be this thing in your face, I think would be great. So, all right.
Well, thank you for your feedback.
Okay, so does that sound good with the rest of the commissioners then, that we will recommend a continuance on this?
Yeah. Do you want to take some public comment now?
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
I
usually always forget one of the applications on that. So yes, please put the script up for me.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the proposed design. You'll be timed by the staff for 2 minutes per comment. To offer a comment, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at blc@boston.gov.
I don't see anyone.
Nothing coming through. Okay. All right. So we'll close the public comment period, and then we will recommend to the full commission after this for a continuance on this, and hopefully come up with something that can acknowledge these lights, but yet respect the guidelines as well. All right.
Great. Thanks, David. Do you want to just quickly read in these?
Oh, yes. These are the
admin?
administrators. Yeah. All right, let me push this out of the way here. Okay, so we've got 4 administrative reviews to read in, and these are applications that came before the Landmark staff, and they were approved by the staff for their adherence to the guidelines. So our vote, or I will read them in now, but then we will ask the full commission for a vote on accepting the staff's approval of these. So the first is application 26.0215, and this is the Boston Public Library security cameras. And it's addition of security cameras in designated spaces. Next, application 26.0237, the Old South Meeting House at 310 Washington Street. And it's regarding equip the main hall with immersive multimedia theater show. Interior work includes repainting windows, new window treatments, and temporary AV equipment. Next is application 26.0235, and it's the Richardson block at 145 Pearl Street, and it's regarding at the rear elevation, repoint and repair the masonry. And the last is application 26.0182, the Warren House at 130 Warren Street, and it's regarding improvements to existing concrete pathway.
Great.
Okay.
So we're going to take a break and
Yes.
we'll reconvene at 6 p.m. At that hearing, we'll do meeting minutes, the recap of these design review applications. We'll vote on admin and just have staff comments. So we should be pretty quick. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you.
All right, Chelsea, Lindsay McJones has joined, so you can make her a co-host.
So we need 2 more commissioners, Joe. Is that right?
We need 7.
So we have 5 at the moment, as far as I count.
Justine should be coming back, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, here comes Kirsten Hoffman.
Great. Kirsten. Okay.
Here's Justine.
Oh, great. Okay.
We just need 1 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's Chris Hart.
Great. Great. Okay, let me make him a co-host and then I'll pull up your script, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, went too far. Okay, let me just make sure we're recording. Yep, we are. So you can go ahead. Oh wait, I have to do Justine again. You should be okay, Justine.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. Great. Okay, go ahead, Brad.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Walker, Chair of the Boston Landmarks Commission. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Boston Landmarks Commission on September 23rd, 2025 at 6:00 p.m. Present are Commissioners Orlando, Baraducci, Mac Jones, Hoffman, Hart, Haney, and myself. Did I miss anybody? Also present with us tonight are Boston Landmarks Commissioner staff, Chelsea Blanchard, who is staff architect, Joe Cornish, Director of Design Review, Elizabeth Sherva, who is the Deputy Director of the Office of Historic Preservation, Kathy Coterides, who is the Director of the Office of Historic Preservation. Did I miss anybody on staff? I see Commissioner Freeman is arriving, so mark that too. You can participate in this hearing by going to the Zoom meeting link posted in our agenda online at zoom.us/j/986-922-00856 or by calling 301-715-8592 and entering the meeting ID, which is 986-922-00856. You may also submit written comments to us via email at blc@boston.gov. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, including the March 28th, 2025 amendment, extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027, we are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Landmarks Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All conversations between commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has been adjourned. At this time, I would ask if there's any media or elected officials present. Please identify yourselves now by stating your name, title, and affiliation. In order to do that, you'll have to use the raise your hand function in the Zoom meeting platform. I'll give people a minute to do that. And while we're doing that, I'll recognize that Commissioner Ward Hyatt has joined us or is in the process of joining us.
Also, we picked up Jeffrey Gagno and Lisa Jacques.
Okay, full house.
But just a heads up, I may have to step away briefly.
Okay, Chris, it's going to be a short meeting, but
Okay.
we'll wave goodbye when you go. All right, I don't think I see any media or elected officials present. I will briefly read into the record tonight's agenda. Tonight, earlier, this design review subcommittee met to review 4 design review projects and discuss several projects for administrative review. We'll go through those. Sorry, before we do that, we will review and ratify the meeting minutes from June 24th and July 8th. We will then move on to staff updates and then a projected adjournment. So let's move on to ratification of the meeting minutes. Earlier, the meeting minutes, drafts of the meeting minutes were distributed to commissioners. Do any commissioners have any comments on the June 24th meeting minutes? I see Commissioner Jacques has her hand raised.
It's because she's not a co-host, but I just made her one.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, Brad.
Thank you, Justine. And is there a second to that motion?
Jeff Haney seconds.
Haney, thank you. Let me just count commissioners. 1, 2. So voting would be alternate commissioners Mac Jones, Hoffman, Gagno, and Hart. I'll start with Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So the meeting minutes from June 24th are approved. Let's go on to the meeting minutes from July 8th. Do any commissioners have comments or corrections to those meeting minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the meeting minutes as presented.
I'll make that motion, Brad.
Thank you, Justine. And a second, please.
I'll second Jeff Gagno.
Thank you. And let's mix things up a little bit. Sorry. Voting would be alternate commissioners Ward Hyatt, Haney, Mac Jones, and Hoffman. I will start with Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Baraducci. Sorry, David, if you responded, we couldn't hear you.
Still muted.
Wave your hand. There you are. Commissioner Baraducci votes yes. Commissioner Mac Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So
I
the
think
meeting
you
minutes.
skipped me, Brad. I vote
Did I?
yes.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Freeman, please.
No worries.
I'm going to take it that you vote yes.
I do.
Thank you.
Liz, go ahead.
The slide is actually incorrect. The meeting minutes that we would be reviewing and ratifying are from August 26, 2025.
And only that date?
And only that date.
Okay, so.
And that is
Okay.
what is on the agenda.
Okay, sorry, I missed that. So Brad, your first set of votes can be for that date.
If there's no objection, we'll take the first set of votes as having been for August 26th.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I
That's
don't know
all
how.
right. Liz, your hand is up. Did you have something else, or? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to design review, and I will recognize this time David Baraducci, who is the chair of the design review subcommittee. Somehow we're not hearing you, David, even though it doesn't say you're muted.
Hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
You can. Okay.
We can.
All right. I don't know what's going on here, but anyway, so the first was application 26.0102. It was Franklin Park, the Shattuck tennis courts, and this was a proposal that was for increasing the number of tennis courts that exist currently from 2 to 5. It meant just slightly moving their location a little bit from where the 2 are currently. It was also involving the adding in a covered sort of we'll call it a viewing stand or covered areas for sitting. 2 that were going to be part of the application, 2 that were going to be add alternates, and adding in some additional trees as well to the area. This is a Franklin Park. So the vote or the recommended I should say the motion, I should say, would be to accept the application as it was presented. And then with the one proviso that there be any, there would be a investigation as to the archaeological area of the site as well.
I'll make that motion, or I'll second that.
Sorry, was I muted for a second there?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. I've got a motion and a second. Commissioner Jacques.
Hold on quick.
Okay.
Question. Do we have a graphic
Sure.
of what we're voting?
Oh, yeah.
I guess my other question is, we're doing tennis, we're not doing pickleball?
No pickleball. They were
No
clear on
pickleball.
that.
Yeah, they decided.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first question.
Can we show a graphic?
Graphic.
Yeah.
Oh,
And there was a point of the reason for the 5 courts was because 5 is the number of courts that would be the minimum threshold for allowing for competitive tennis, is from what I understand. So that was why they wanted to increase it. Plus the need for more courts as well, but 5 was the number that they settled on. Do we have that graphic of the
no.
Oh, we don't. Oh, okay.
No, I'll have to look for it. But Chris, it was in the folder that was sent to everyone before the meeting. So let me look.
Did you have any other thought about what you were concerned about, Chris?
No, I was just asking because obviously members of the public may not have been at the design review.
Okay.
And therefore do not see the graphic.
Yeah, if you're able to call up your packet that was sent around earlier, you'll see it.
I see, but I just, I vote for online.
Here I think Chelsea's got it.
Yeah, this one here was the 5 courts that were proposed. And the shade structures were going to be sort of pergola structures over the sitting areas on the 2 ends of the 3-court run and the 2-court run. And then there were interim other areas that they were considering, but those would be part of, or 2 other areas, but those would be part of the add alternates, I guess. And there was just improvements to the existing furnishings that were out there. The picnic tables were quite old, some of them, and so they're upgrading those. And the barbecue pits or little barbecue elevated platforms and the trash receptacles and that sort of thing were all going to be
And
upgraded.
The most important thing I think for this, as you as commissioners, is that this is consistent with the Franklin Park Action Plan, which has been heavily vetted by the public and the city itself. So we didn't experience any surprises here, except that we are going to have archaeology weigh in. They have asked for a certain amount of test pits in this area, and the applicant has agreed to do those and report out on them.
All right, if there are no further questions, I think we do have the proviso about the archaeology. I think I have a motion in a second.
Yeah.
So I will move to the vote and ask for Commissioner Jacques, please.
Yes.
And Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno.
Yes.
Commissioner, Hart.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So that matter is covered. We move on to the next one, David.
Yep, and that was application 26.0236, and it's the William Lloyd Garrison House at 17 Highland Park Street in Roxbury. They were returning to us from their previous hearing on August 26th, where we had asked for a continuance based on our wanting them to relook at the regrading of the front of the house. And originally they were going to be proposing a series of retaining walls to make their way down the slope, and we thought that was just interrupting the pristine view of the house. So they relooked at it, and they were proposing now a consistent 2-to-1 slope all the way down to where there is one existing retaining wall, but they will be replacing that existing retaining wall with a new one. But that will make the slope a much cleaner slope. No interruptions. You'll have they will be also keeping the grade below. I think it's 18 inches. Is it below the porch floor, so that they won't need to have railings on the porch, which will also be keep the view and consistent and a much cleaner view. So we basically approved of this as well without the one proviso again being the same, where archaeology would be allowed to weigh in on the site and investigate a few areas, and they agreed to that. So
did staff want to review details like the final stone veneer or the handrail design?
I know we didn't mention that. I don't know.
It's really, I guess I'm asking staff at this point.
Yeah,
we did not talk about it.
Was there a handrail proposed?
So
I think there are railings on those
on the
side steps.
stone, yes, that wasn't part of tonight's application, though.
it
That
was
was part
not.
of last time. So
okay.
I can get back to you, Brad, but I don't think it has to be about tonight.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like that wasn't part of tonight's presentation. I think.
Well, they changed the
stairs or
stone
the-
wall.
Yeah, they did propose a stone wall with a veneer. He did mention the type of stone that they were, he gave the name of the stone that they were planning to use.
Oh, down at the bottom?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's no railing there.
No, I know, but there's stone.
There's a stone veneer
and
there.
I'm not
There's
sure
a-
they committed to using that stone, so
They
I was
did.
hoping
Yeah.
they're committed to that.
They are
All right.
committed to that. They're not going to use any kind of, modulated block or
All right.
it's a true stone veneer. He said it's not pudding stone.
Right.
And we saw a picture of it.
And we saw a picture of it. He's also probably emailed me the vendor. So I can look for that if you're interested.
No, I think if it looks like what we saw, then
Mhm.
we don't need to see it again.
Okay. Right.
All right. So I'm going to say that Commissioner Baraducci, you have made a motion.
Yes.
And Commissioner Orlando.
I will second.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacques.
I will abstain.
Okay. Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
Commissioner Mac Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt.
Sorry.
we did not
Sorry.
hear-
Yes.
that's right.
Yes.
And Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Oh, and Brad, your vote.
Sorry, I vote yes.
Okay, so the last was the application 26.0153, and it was the Commonwealth Avenue Mall signage application. And it was regarding the application was for a new sign at the Arlington Street entrance to the mall. That would be a commemorative sign for the acknowledgement of the family that donated the lights, or at least I came up with the initial installation of the lights in terms of funding. And that would be just a plaque, a bronze plaque that they wanted to mount to the fence, to the left-hand fence at the threshold of the park entry there on that would acknowledge that they were the family that was the one responsible for the lights. So the guidelines were pretty clear on, or are pretty clear on no acceptance of no additional signage in the park. So and we were kind of concerned about having this be a third sign that would be now added to this two signs that are already there on the fence. So we basically are suggesting that that the commission approve of a continuance for this, where we ask them to come back and look at maybe some alternatives, where it would be maybe a flush mounted sign that would be on the pavement, because the sign is going to be a bronze sign, or something off to the side in the lawn that would be flush, that could be read without having it be a distraction and such a clear violation of the guidelines. And so that would be the motion for them to come back with as a continuance, rather.
And I will second that.
Thank you. Let's move to a vote. Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando.
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci.
Yes.
I'm going to go to Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno.
Yes.
Commissioner Hart.
Yes.
Commissioner Haney.
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we can move to the administrative
Yes.
reviews.
We had, I believe there were four administrative or four projects that were approved previously by staff that I had read in during the previous session of the Design Review Committee. So I won't read them in again, but the vote or the motion would be to approve the staff's approval of those applications.
And I will second.
Thank you. And voting Commissioner Jacques.
Yes.
Commissioner Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Orlando,
Yes.
Commissioner Baraducci,
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman,
Yes.
Commissioner Gagno,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Haney,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So we move on to staff updates, and I would recognize Elizabeth Sherba at this time.
Thanks, Brad. The next Boston Landmarks Commission hearing will be on Tuesday, October 14th at 6 p.m. Currently a very light agenda, but we do need input and RSVPs for that. I want to say thank you to Chelsea Blanchard and our BLC commissioners, Justine Orlando, David Baraducci, and John Amadeo for their work on the White Stadium Subcommittee. The last subcommittee meeting was this past Thursday. The group in total met 14 times. And again, thank you for your continued commitment to working to advance the design. Our newest staff member, Jackie Vangus. Jackie is the newest preservation planner on our team, and you will find her staffing the South End District with Rachel Erickson and also staffing Bay Village. I'm pleased to tell you that Docomomo has given an Advocacy Award for Excellence for the nearly 2 decades long campaign to secure landmark designation for the Boston City Hall. The Docomomo website has additional information about the award and other award winners and who's being recognized. And I encourage all of you to take a look at the website. I just want to read an excerpt from the website. They state, a broad coalition of stakeholders, including Friends of Boston City Hall, Docomomo US New England, and Boston Preservation Alliance, among others, worked tirelessly to secure important protections for the building's historic character by encouraging city officials, local Bostonians, and the public writ large to understand and embrace the merits of the original design by Gerard Kallman, Michael McKinnell, and Edward Knowles. When the influential Brutalist building faced threats of abandonment and demolition beginning in 2007, advocates mounted a sustained effort that spanned 17 years and fueled growing recognition of the building's architectural and civic value. The website went on to state, this unrelenting work culminated in December 2024 when Boston City Hall, including its significant interior spaces, was designated a local landmark, ensuring protection for generations to come, end quote. So again, I recommend that you go and you take a look at the website and take a look at all the other award winners. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you, Chair Walker.
Any other commissioners have any topics of concern this evening?
But I don't know if anyone noticed when the BPDA approved the downtown zoning changes, there's a proviso that PDAs will help support downtown landmarks. So I think that's a good thing. It may not be as strong as we want, but we should all take a look at that language that was approved by the BPDA. So.
Thank you. I wasn't aware of that proviso, so I appreciate the heads up.
Yeah, it was in the Globe article. And of course, there's nothing about supporting public transit downtown. It's like, okay, we'll let you build tall buildings, but we won't support public transit. But like, you can make token donations toward Boston landmarks. So It's an interesting approach. But at least we know there's some avenue to get some support for landmarks downtown.
All right, thank you, Chris. Anyone else have anything? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second, someone who's unmuted, like Felicia Jacques.
That doesn't mean it'll work.
We'll take a voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yeah.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.